comment if it
We're live. Welcome. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Burnie and Bestie Live Sunday Vibes. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. In fact, whether you are live with us right now or whether you are watching the replay. Did I just leave a comment? Whether you are watching now or it's on my Facebook thing. This is so weird. Sorry, new first day of school vibes. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments. If you want, you can say the country, you can say the part of the world, you can say the city, whatever you're comfortable with, or you can just say hello. This is so interesting. Is it actually live on my Facebook? I'm just gonna check right now, guys, because it is. Look, live on the Facebooks.
Oh, cool.
Facebook is live. That's why it's posting for me or commenting as me from my Facebook. I'm like, okay. Great. Well, welcome to Burnie and Bestie Live. Let's get right into the goods. I'm so glad you guys are here for us live. Part of the intention with doing this was to just spark more conversations. That's always my intention. It's to spark more conversations from I would say an evolved recovery perspective, but I don't mean to be rude there, about recovering from recovery. So all the addiction recovery things and life after recovery and what that all means, no matter where we're at on the journey, whether we are leaving AA, whether we're still in AA or 12-step, or whether we are abstinent fully, or whether we are dabbling in plant medicine, whether we're doing Cali sober, or whether we're drinking or Sinclair method, or whatever the fuck feels like it's the right path for you. This is about, for me, it is about validating and supporting people who are in this recovering from recovery phase. So I really appreciate you being here. And I know this is the internet. It's not like an in-person church basement meeting. So I still hope that my hope is that you do feel a sense of connection and community from these lives. Uh-oh, what just happened?
Probably because it let me stream to mine. So I just had hit enter. Why did something weird happen?
Do you see on the side? We're like twice vertical. Where are you streaming? That's so weird.
Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, it looks like we have a vertical. I'm going to hide that vertical. That just got really weird. Again, first day of school vibes here. So you know what it is. We're new. By next year, we're going to be on. So our plan is to do this every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon Eastern. Get it? High noon, burning the stigma Eastern. Also, let us know what your time zone is so that we could even like call that out or whatever. I wanted to kick us off with a comment, if that's okay.
That's fantastic.
Okay. Do we think we're all set up in all the places, like all the live streams? I know I'm live on my Facebook.
I'm going to turn down my volume here and then look on my Facebook page, and it does not show me. It says, yeah, I can't tell if that's me or us, but it shows me live.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think we got the kinks worked out. Okay, so this is the comment that I got that actually I got it this morning and I read it and I screenshotted it right away because I was like, this is like epic. And then I replied to the person as well, but I wanted to read it here because I thought it would be a good place to kick us off. But of course, if you have any questions or anything that you want us to discuss or want people in the comments to discuss, like as a community, whether you're watching live or in the replay, please drop it in the comments. Let this be like a live hangout. Okay. This commenter says, I just want to say I've been watching your content on this and it's been such a boon to the recovery conversation. I never committed to AA, but I did attend for periods of time. And even that level of exposure was detrimental to me because its ideas follow you. Oof, that hit hard. They're designed to. They say, A, that you're weak and bad. B, that they have a monopoly on truth. And so if you don't think you're weak and bad, that's a piece of evidence that you're weak and bad. The ideas are designed to be sticky, so they stick. The slogans, the propaganda. And so even after you leave and set out to find a way that works for you, you have to constantly waste mental energy convincing yourself you aren't weak and bad. Whew. My recovery was a process of trial and error, as is many people's, and I believe attending AA slowed the process down by creating baggage I had to lug around.
There's a lot there.
What comes up for you when I read that? You, the commenter, you, Tara Grace, Burn the Stigma, anybody here?
Well, it's just like how I always say, you never have to step foot into a room to be affected by the ideology, by all of it. And like that person said, they weren't even heavily involved, and listen to how many things as someone who was really involved can identify with is pretty crazy, you know. It's just, yeah. The thing that always gets me is that sometimes I feel like when I talk about this stuff, it's just like, oh, you know, just like I feel like sometimes I make too much of it, but then it's like I really don't, though, because it's not just a meeting. It's not just a group. Like it's something that's held so many of us back and has harmed so many of us. But sometimes, like even now, years later, talking about it, still sometimes I'm like, do I overdo it? But listening to that, no, I definitely don't.
Yeah, so we got a comment saying, "What are you guys talking about?" Great. Yeah, so for me, what this comment that I just read brought up that came through my YouTube this morning, I love the conversation in the comments, by the way, under any of the videos. I try to read them all. I don't always get notifications, but I just learned so much from everybody, and I'm sure you guys do as well, learn from each other, right? So basically, this comment is talking about how I'd say insidious AA ideology is, that even though this individual only went for a little period of time and wasn't a true believer or in the middle of it like I was, that they still got affected from it by thinking that they're bad and weak. That's what the ideology said. And then it also says that if you don't think you're bad and weak, essentially, that's proof that you're bad and weak, right? That's your disease talking or whatever. And that's dangerous, and your disease wants you dead and all that stuff. So I think for me, the broader picture here, like when we zoom out on this, so this is somebody who had a little bit of exposure to AA and felt very harmed by it, or felt it negatively affected their, I guess I would say, self-concept, self-esteem, and therefore entire life. So if we're a true believer like I was, or really in the middle of the boat and doing all the things, that's obviously going to have it's going to be like a spectrum. It's going to have a greater degree on us, more likely. But then when we zoom out, this is what I've been seeing recently, especially on TikTok, which is so bananas, is that it's infiltrated, or shall I say infected, medical health professionals. So whether it's doctors, therapists, or whatever, I'm getting some really angry doctors and therapists and psychiatrists and stuff coming at me right now. And I think it's horrifying because they've been infected by the ideology as well, a 12-step ideology. And so to me, that's horrifying because I think that if you are a medical health professional or a doctor or like whatever, if you are recommending a program to go to, you really should be listening to dissenters. If you are literally trolling, like, you guys, why the fuck are doctors trolling me on TikTok? What? Are you okay? Like, are you okay? Shouldn't you, if you have a do no harm, like, oath that you take, be listening to people talking about harm in a group that you are recommending people go to? But that's the thing. That's why it's so sticky, like this person said in the comment. It's sticky because instead of seeing that somebody is talking about a harm in a system that you are actively promoting, you attack, essentially ad hominem, right? We love the ad hominem vibes. You are attacking the person who's talking about the harm instead of acknowledging that there might be harm in the system and then being curious. Because I think a healthy perspective is, wow, I love this system. It saved my patients' lives or whatever. Let's look at the harm that a dissenter is talking about. Do I agree with that? Not saying that I'm right, but what do the people say? What do the ex-members who are leaving and healing and say it's harmful? What harm are they talking about? Can I see that? Do I agree with that? You know, discernment and critical thinking. But instead, it's like troll, shun, silence, shame. And it's just like, to me, that speaks to how pervasive the ideology is in society.
Yeah, it's always terrifying when it's medical professionals, because it's like, how many people have sat in that seat? How many people's family members have had conversations with that person who have been made to believe the whole, just, I mean, insert slogan, the whole, they just have to want it bad enough. They have to hit their bottom. They have to surrender, all of the things. And that's what terrifies me, is when it comes from the professionals, is you think of how many people have been negatively affected by this person's belief system. It's scary, dude.
And they refuse to listen to the harm being presented. That instead of listening to the harm, they're actively trying to silence dissenters or shame dissenters or like to me that just like literally it makes me so like passionate about wanting to talk about this, because that's like the crux of the problem there. These people are getting recommended by these professionals who won't even look at the harm. So they're complicit in the harm, and they're violent or aggressive about anyone talking about the harm. Like it's a systematic, like, I mean, what year are we in? Like, how is this okay?
I know.
If you think addiction is serious, then why aren't you taking it all seriously? Like, okay, so I want to put up, there was another comment over here that was on what we were talking about. Blue Butterfly says, what's up, Blue Butterfly? That's a great point. When I left AA, my thoughts revolved around the AA ideology obsessively. I would argue with the concepts in my head. So glad that noise has stopped. Totally. We had a comment back here that I think Burnie would be good at responding to.
One thing that annoys me about 12 steppers is that they make no provision for moderation at all. Oh, totally. And if there is such thing as moderation, then you're either in complete denial or you weren't a real addict or a real alcoholic. It's so annoying. It's so annoying.
Yeah, and that's how they keep the system closed, right? When I learned all of the dynamics of a cult, it's another reason why it's so important. It was so important for me to understand AA as a cult, because then you could look at the cult framework for understanding what you were in and understanding the way out of it all, right? People get all like cluster effed around the word cult. Nobody likes to think that they're in a cult. Culties are going to cult, right? Haters are going to hate. Yeah. Culties are going to cult. Nobody likes to be told they're in a cult, period. Like, obviously. But the reason why it's so important is because when we can see what we're in, like when I learned, or when I was looking at AA through a cult lens, I was able to see that, oh, okay, so real alcoholic and the way that they define things, it keeps the system closed. It's called a no true Scotsman fallacy, right? So if you say, oh, you left AA and you're not drinking, you have the power not to drink, then you were never a real alcoholic. Oh, you were in AA, and you drank and you couldn't control it always. Oh, you're a real alcoholic. So no matter what your experience is, if you're out of AA and you have success, or if you're out of AA and you defy the AA ideology, then they just say you were never a real alcoholic. And it comes from it's called no true Scotsman, which is like, hey, my uncle is a Scotsman and he doesn't drink coffee or something. And they're like, well, no, true Scotsman doesn't. I don't know how to explain the example, but it's the real AA thing. I mean, the real alcoholic thing. There's literally nothing called a real alcoholic outside of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a high control tactic to keep you locked into the system, and then to discount anybody who has success that defies the system.
Yeah, and it's dangerous, because when I believed that, I totally believed there was no way I wasn't a real alcoholic. I don't know if I've ever said this before here, but so the reason that I know the big book so well, even though, my thing was heroin, is because I belong to DAA, and what DAA was called Drug Addicts Anonymous, and you use the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, but when you read it out loud, you would just change the words, drinking to using and alcohol to drugs, because we believe that was the true text, like the original, the real shit, and NA was watered down and all that shit. But when I totally believed in the allergy and that I definitely had it every single time, like I'm someone, and I've come to a place where I'm pretty comfortable saying it. Like, I like getting high, right? Like, I enjoy that feeling. That's why I enjoy cannabis. But for so long, even if I would just smoke a joint, then I would have a needle in my arm very shortly, because I believed that was what's going to happen. Now, do I know that for a fact? I mean, no, I can't go back for sure. But I definitely think that my belief system kept me stuck in that pattern a lot longer than had I never believed any of that shit,
Yeah, for sure. DRH says, AA told me I couldn't get sober without AA. That's total brainwashing cult mentality, 100%. Then we have Blue Butterfly with all or nothing. Yep. Black and white thinking, 100%. So let's see this. Stephen says, I've been involved with AA since I was a kid. I had massive identity and family issues that weren't entirely unaddressed by AA and shrinks that I honestly believe are stuck on stupid. Yeah. I know, like, with cults, they talk about, first generation and second generation, like, and this is, I think, more like the people, like, if you were born into, like, Children of God or, like that. But I also feel like with AA, some people are born into it, the people who grow up in the rooms, who go to the meetings all the time and maybe are sent to Alateen or some of the other younger programs, but are brainwashed, are conditioned into the idea, exposed to the ideology at a young age where it starts to shape your worldview, your world perspective.
Yeah. Actually, the Sarah Jumper I'm uploading her interview tonight. She grew up literally in the rooms of AA. Like she had her first kiss on the stairways of an AA meeting because her parents went to AA. So that's an example of, I mean, I remember the kids that would come in the carriers, I remember seeing them in the meetings, and there are people who are quite literally born into it, and then they're planted with that seed, like, oh honey, this runs in your genes, like so they think that they have it before they've even had their first drink.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. Do you use heroin in moderation? I feel like you kind of already spoke to that, but we can put it up anyways.
Yeah, no, I personally don't. Heroin doesn't even exist anymore anyways around these parts, but no, I don't use it in moderation. I just use cannabis in moderation. But I would say the last time that I did use dope, it was actually Fent, but there were like several weekends that I was using. It wasn't like I picked up again and was back to where I left off like I was so many other times, right? So the very last time that I did use, it kind of was in moderation because it was on the weekends. And I remember it would be like Sunday night, and even if we had some left, we would just dump it because we're like, we're not going to get in the habit. It was like super controlled use because it was my husband and I, he had just gotten, out of prison again. And we were like, okay, we're not going to, we're not going to do any of that. And, well, we dabbled a little bit, but that was pretty fucking controlled use at that point. So my last time was pretty controlled, actually.
It's so interesting that AA ideology isn't true. It's kind of like mind blowing, right? To like hear
Yeah.
stories that defy what they kind of say, that these principles are always this is always the case, and it's just not always the case. Okay, so we have AA is a DB says AA is a sin management program, 100%. It'll drive a person to neurosis with a constant self-shaming. Oh, yes. Yes, this is a horrific part of the brainwashing. Sin list, yep. Incessant prayer, never-ending apology tour, and 12-step mandate to evangelize save drunks. Oh, God, this one hits me hard. Yes, 100% on all of this. It is brutal. And the constant self-shaming, like, that's part of the ideology. Like, I don't do moral inventories anymore.
Yeah.
I don't do forced confessionals. I don't, I don't believe in all that stuff. And so, yeah, it really is a lot, and they condition us just like Pavlov and the dogs and salivating, right? He rings the bell and the dog and gives the dog food, and then eventually he just rings the bell, no food, but the dog still salivates. I feel like our brains get conditioned in a Pavlovian way to constantly like shame ourselves, look for our part in being traumatized, and all sorts of other stuff. Even the incessant prayer. I don't pray anymore. True confessions over here.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a long time to rewire the prayer thing, to stop in my thinking, going from please help me, please guide me, give me guidance, help me with this, do da 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 da. That was a process that I actively, like, me as the observer, right? Like we think about like meditation, me as the observer, my brain just going there automatically because of the conditioning, and then like learning how to rest back and then like drop that thought or let that thought go and not continue to perpetuate those kinds of thoughts, and to actually be like, wait a minute, why don't I just make a decision right now? Do I need to journal for clarity? Do I need to research something for clarity? Like, I'm not waiting for divine guidance so that I can make a move in my life, to not be dependent upon this conception of a higher power, a doorknob of my understanding, or God, whatever, right? So it's taken me a while to unwire from literally from the incessant prayer. I'm totally curious what you guys think in the comments. Okay. Do you want to take this one?
I was a full-blown junkie. I realized that I could think for myself and found out what true freedom was for me. Keyword there. Once I left that type of matrix, the world made so much more sense. I can definitely relate to that. Once the freedom that comes when you no longer believe in that is I think I just commented that on one of your posts today, Kirsten, was like the freedom that I got from once I left all of that behind was like a freedom that I never knew could possibly exist. Like to know that I never have to worry about that shit again is like the craziest like it's crazy because I thought for the rest of my life I was going to have to worry about that there was never going to be a point in time that I wasn't going to have to be on on my toes. It was like playing defense, right? When you're in that state of mind, when you believe that if you don't stay spiritually fit and connected to your higher power and doing all the shit you got to do, then your disease can come and get you. I mean, it is constantly playing defense. You can never just chill. And they tell you that, like, don't get complacent, so
Rest on laurels.
yeah, it's like it's great to be able to just live my life. Not saying that I don't have other issues, because your girl has issues, but none of them have to do with dope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or using any substance chaotically.
For sure, fear can be a great motivator, like being powerful. The fear of drinking again in the beginning really helped me get sober, or even the fear of blowing all that money on rehab helped me stay sober in the very beginning, because I was like, I can't like go drink again after it would be a very bad investment. So there was just a lot of fear. Like fear can really help. And so I don't say fear is bad, right? Like fear is okay. But at a certain point in time, the fear is not necessary. That's what I found. When we recover, it means we're recovering to like a normal state of mind and body, right? And
Yeah.
so for me, I really like Alan Carr's easy way method and rational recovery, where you get to a place. And I think Annie Grace, is that her name? Or am I getting confused with Tara Grace? I think it's Annie Grace. Also has This Naked Mind, and in all three of those, but for sure like in rational recovery and stuff, it's about coming to a place where you don't want to drink. So you're not afraid you're going to drink, you don't want to drink. Like I literally don't want to drink. Like when people troll me and say go try having a drink, I'm like, I don't want to though. If I wanted to have a drink, I would use Sinclair method. I would try naltrexone. I've been clear about that. I literally don't want to drink. And that's how someone yesterday in the comments was like, how do you stay sober then? Like, if you're not in AA, I'm like, by not drinking. Like, I just don't want it. But I do it because I don't want it. The same way that I don't want to do a lot of other things in my life. It's not hard when I don't want it. So flipping it around in my mind, which I didn't actually do, but if you were in the process of getting sober, it's like focus on what you actually want. Like if you wanted to train for a marathon and that was going to require you to run before work, so you need to get up at 5 a.m, you focus on your marathon goal, then maybe you won't binge Netflix till 1 a.m. because you'll be exhausted. So you don't focus on, I don't want to binge Netflix, because you do. You focus on, I want to run a marathon because that's where my goal is, So I think the idea of focusing on what you actually want is more a recovered way of doing things in my mind than being afraid constantly of being in fear motivated. I don't think being motivated by fear is bad, but I think there's a more healthier way. Let's see. Here we have, you want to take this one?
Brittany, I was forced in AA as a 14-year-old in the court system, an adult space. Yeah, think of how insane that is, being 14 going to an AA meeting. Like, really think about that for a second. I was the only teenager member. My adult life was an identity crisis until I left. I'm 34 now and just discovering who I am and what I truly believe. Dude, young people in 12-step spaces, I think is a crime to begin with, just because, and I say like before 25. Imagine being 14. I mean, that is everything about your growth and your identity and all of the pivotal like years in your life. So that's intense. But I mean, I just totally think that it's criminal to, and they say, right, like I'll have people comment it, they'll be like, well, AA is supposed to be the last house on the block, but it's not. It's typically the first house on the block. It's the first attempt that anyone has, the first introduction that anyone has to recovery, period. The first introduction that society has that never even has a substance use disorder. So it's definitely not the last house on the block, you know. And to think of how many young people meetings there are, how many young people programs there are, it's actually like, it's like nauseating.
Yeah. Okay, what do you recommend for alcohol use disorder? Personally, if I was going to go whisper in my 2009 getting sober ear, I would say do Sinclair method. So that will help you if it works for you, because what I've read, it works for 78% of the people. It doesn't work for everybody. So I would try Sinclair method first. It's cheaper than rehab and cheaper as far as the brainwashing with AA and everything like that. You don't have to go join a cult religion. I would do Sinclair method for harm reduction on alcohol to slowly lose my interest in alcohol. I would do trauma therapy for childhood trauma and adult trauma. And I would also do smart recovery for learning coping skills that are evidence-based, evolving with science, modern science things, and also for community. Now, I was in San Francisco in 2009, so there was in theory, there was smart meetings. I didn't know about them. I didn't understand these options were on the table then. But even if you're in an area where you can't go to in-person meetings, I think that the Zoom meetings might be really helpful. So I think having a professional like a trauma therapist would have been great for me, having a harm reduction approach to alcohol that is science-backed, Sinclair, and also having, the community and real skills to learn. Okay, praying for a parking lot, love it, obsessed. And then we have Brittany. I was constantly told it was me, not the program, from 14 to 30. I left at 30. Yeah, that's it. Cult rule. Like I heard this. Cult rule number 1 is we're not a cult. And cult rule number 2 is you're wrong. I just like that simple. It's so simple for me to look at AA through a cult lens and really get what I experienced and really hear what everybody is saying. Yeah, of course. It was you, not the program. 100%. That's full on cult vibes. It's not true, but it's AA ideology. Kate says, I've been catching myself in prayer and I've been actively stopping myself. It's not actually easy. 100%. It's literally been a rewiring. Even yesterday, it doesn't happen as often anymore. Even yesterday, I prayed and I was like, whoa, wait, no. If I want to do the thing, do the thing. Like, what do I actually want me without outsourcing my, And for the record, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with prayer or religion or any of that. I don't make any statements about that for anybody else, but that was actively as an atheist who got indoctrinated into a cult religion under the guise of I would die if I didn't. Then for me, deprogramming does include deprogramming from the religious aspects of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah. The social and community cost is so high for people who have the scarlet A of AA placed upon them when seeking help. The once a pickle, never a cucumber again mentality is toxic as fuck. Yeah, 100%, dude. 100%. Like once, and it's even worse when you are like in a community or like a treatment community where like the people in treatment and then you know people in the meetings, and like the more people you know in the program, the more toxic that scarlet letter is, because then it's like so many people are invested in your life and looking for any signs for you to not be doing, like, it's I don't like it.
And I'd also like to say that when I read the book, The Cure for Alcoholism, which is a triggering title indeed for many, because cure and also alcoholism, I don't believe in the word alcoholism, as y'all probably know by now. But in the book, The Cure for Alcoholism, which is like the science behind Sinclair method. And I'm not recommending the Sinclair method to anybody. I'm just saying what I wish I could have tell myself. I don't know what anybody else should do. I'm just inviting like I'm just sparking conversations for people to think critically about what's going to work for them. It's so individual. It is so individual.
Yeah.
But the once a pickle, never a cucumber again is actually baloney. The pickle is baloney. Can you believe it? The pickle is not a cucumber. The pickle is baloney. And here's why. Because just like Pavlov and the dog, learning how to salivate with the bell, and then there's no food needed and it will salivate with the bell, right? We know about Pavlov and the dog. And if you don't know, now you know. So this pickle to a cucumber, but unlearning happens. So the learning that happened in the dog's brain is when the two things were associated together in the brain, the food and the bell. So then the dog salivates to the bell because they've been conditioned to that response. So we condition our brains learn about drinking and we get rewarded and all of that. I think of it like a road in our brain, like a neural pathway. And when you take naltrexone, what the research is showing with, this is not a Sinclair Method advertisement, but it speaks to the pickle is baloney. You can unlearn that pathway in your brain actually gets unlearned because when you take naltrexone, as far as I understand, it covers the opioid receptors, something like that. I'm not a doctor. I'm just kind of trying to remember what I know about this. And so because you're no longer getting your reward pathways like boosted and getting the endorphins and all of that when you drink under naltrexone for the people that it works for, you actually unlearn that association. Just like the more that you ring a bell for a dog and don't give it food, eventually it's going to unlearn that the bell means food because it's not being paired with it anymore. The food is not being paired with the bell. When alcohol is not being paired with the reward pathway going crazy in your brain with the endorphins and everything being released, you unlearn it. So the pickle is not the cucumber. So the pickle becomes a cucumber. The cucumber becomes a pickle, but the pickle is baloney. Because you can go back to the cucumber. You can unlearn that in your brain. And to me, that's why, and guys, I think we knew this in the 90s, if not even the 50s and the 60s, they were talking about some of the stuff like alcohol deprivation effect, which is the so-called disease in the parking lot doing push-ups. Like if you're very deprived of something, you're going to rebound. Like if you're really hungry, you're going to eat more when you have food. If you're really abstinent from alcohol, you're going to drink more the first couple of times on average to make up for that as a deprivation effect.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kate does not want to spiritually bypass emotions or circumstances. 100%. Okay. Yeah. And then you want to take this one from Jim?
Heroin in moderation, like a social club for part-time heroin users, does seem a bit daft. For me personally, the idea of using like H or any of my, OCs, any of my drugs of choice, I know that I personally probably couldn't, but I do know that I know it sounds crazy to us because most of us don't experience people like this, right? But I do know that there are people who do use, obviously H really isn't a thing anymore, but that do use opiates like that and on occasion, right? Like they don't do it all the time. And it to us, it probably sounds like, what the hell, because I know but it does exist, and there are people that do it. And it just goes to show us like all of the stigma and everything that goes with the drugs and just what we picture. Like even in all of my deprogramming, when I hear the word, like that's why I don't really like to use the word addict, but when I hear the words heroin addict, the thing that I picture in my mind, no matter how much I have, like I said, unlearned and changed my language and all that shit, it's still probably what you would, if you Google clip art image, it would probably be the image of like the person in the alleyway, bent, like it's just, that's what I picture, even though I know that's not how most drug users are. And that's the real thing too, is that most drug users aren't the people that we see on the news, on Kensington, on like majority of drug users are people that are employed, that have regular ass lives. We're just so used to thinking otherwise because the ones that we talk about the most are the most visible, but that's not the representation of most drug users. So it's kind of crazy. What do you recommend for staying clean in a conservative area in Florida? Limited people who are clean, not growing in NA, but feel stuck. I want to have community, and the peer support is very religious. So my personal, like my suggestion would just be perhaps you could find, I don't know what you do for your recovery, but sometimes I feel like the better support in our lives is not recovery related. Like maybe you could join some sort of, knitting, book club, whatever. Because for me, like the more I'm kind of in this, like I feel like I'm in a new shift right now in my deprogramming journey. Because before, and I still believe this, like people should do whatever they want, but sometimes a lot of these other pathways too, I still feel like they co-sign like the disease model, forever sick, like forever needing something type of vibe. And I think the best healing that we can do is like to truly heal, whether you have trauma, whether you have, something else going on. I think the best thing that you could do would be to find what works for you, because then you can have the freedom of doing any type of social club that you want. That doesn't even have to do with recovery. I know that's like such a boring answer kind of, but I feel like sometimes when we're looking for support, when we have a history of substance use disorder, we automatically think that we need like recovery support. And I guess in early recovery, it can be a good thing, but sometimes I think the best thing for us is to get out of that mindset, but that's just obviously just my opinion and my experience was I needed to get away from recovery based things to really grow.
Then we have R.R. Hurst says, what are your thoughts on psilocybin? My thoughts, personally, it scares the crap out of me because I found it to be incredibly powerful. And also I don't like being totally disoriented. I like reality. But as far as like healing and like my specific experience is that before I was ever on the internet, meaning there were no rabbit holes I ever went down. Before I was ever on the internet, I ate what I now know is called a hero's dose of mushrooms. I just ate them all. Me and my friends, we ate them all, and it was a lot. And so in that teenage baby Kirsten experience of thinking I was basically drinking a beer and not really getting it. And they were so gross. I don't like the taste. I don't like mushrooms at all. We just ate them all really fast. And then and all of a sudden we were like, oh, we better get home. We're not okay. And we're like walking and like, it's just intense. And so, but from that night, that was one of the most profound nights of my life. And so little teenage Kirsten, experienced herself as what appeared to be consciousness floating through space without identity, without a body, without a name, without a personality, without anything. Ooh, I'm getting the chills. And when I finally came back, I was so relieved to I literally wrote on a piece of paper, my name is Kirsten. And I was so happy that I knew something that felt like real in this physical world. And it took me about 6 months to, I guess I was integrating it, but I didn't even know about integration, right? Again, I'm in high school. There's no internet really. Well, not that I was on. There was no Google. This is before Google. And the Gen X here. What up, Gen X? So that experience, though, that experience taught me still my core belief about life, which is that we are souls inside bodies here to evolve. It completely changed me. It was my first, let's call it spiritual awakening, or a spiritual experience where I wasn't embodied anymore. And I just got a whole new, I don't know, I felt like I learned some secrets of the universe, for a lack of a better way to say it. And so I really love the power of psychedelics. Personally, they freak me out and I don't like to actually take them. I like to have taken them, meaning I like who they transform me into. I also, when I felt led to do ayahuasca 3 years ago in the Peruvian jungle with the shaman down there, there was people there that were going there to use ayahuasca in hopes to get sober. And there was a guy there that we stayed in touch afterwards, and it completely shifted his drinking and turned him into a moderate drinker from that 4 days down there by the Amazon. So I really love psychedelics for the healing properties that they have that I've read about and personally experienced. And I think of these plants as medicines, and I don't think of them as drugs or relapse or even in that category at all. I guess it also depends upon how you use the substance, but I'm all for psychedelic, like assisted psychotherapy, things like that, ketamine, all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm for it in the healing way. I'm for it in the recreational way. I think it's a great substance for both, for both things, for healing and for thing. But again, like everything else in the world, it's not for everybody. Point an example right here. I am not a hallucinogen person personally. My inclination would be there is a legitimate application for some individuals for sure. Do you want? I don't know.
Jim says, I thought they made listening to Pink Floyd album Animals more interesting, taking magic mushrooms. Could be true. And then Lindsay says, yes, there's a group called Psychedelics in Recovery. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I cannot fathom doing heroic doses, but I lemon tech so I don't have to chew the fruiting body. Does that mean make a tea?
Sure.
Yeah, the times that I've had heroic, I don't know, the times that I've transcended reality completely and been disembodied, been conscious as existing in space, that kind of that it kind of freaks me out, honestly. Like, I don't experience that as fun. I think some people really enjoy that. So for me, it's it's been 3 times that I've had that experience, and all 3 times have been profound. Once was that mushrooms when I was a teenager, and twice was 3 years ago in ayahuasca, where I just had one time I literally was like floating, and this is just what I experienced. I'm not saying this is like reality, right? Where I was healing myself, my DNA with light, and I was controlling it, and I could see inside my body. And it was just this like, it just felt so empowering. Some of the lessons, like the way that I've experienced psychedelics, especially ayahuasca, which is kind of next level, it was like I was as if I was in a video game learning about fear and love, but any of my thoughts were like shape shifting it in real time. And just to have such a visceral, like, to me, it's frightening, and also like such a school, like such a teacher, right? So yeah, I honestly am in the camp of there's things that you can learn in hero doses that you can't learn anywhere else. Just like there's probably things you can learn in any specific modality that you can't learn anywhere else. I definitely don't recommend them to people, but I do think it's nice to trust ourselves. Yes. So Kingsman says, be careful with it. 100%. I think we lost a bunch of comments back here. Let's see. Scroll back up. You want to take this one?
Tangent. Sorry, my voice. Would love to learn more about working with my ADHD rather than fighting myself and getting frustrated with my procrastination and all or nothing approach. Appreciate you both so much.
ADHDers in the house. What's up? What's up, party people?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still I'm still lost in that. I offer nothing because I have no clue. I'm still stuck there too.
So when I looked at the research, depending upon where I looked, there was different data saying different things, right? But it seemed to be that studies tended to show that if you have ADHD, you're 6 times more likely to have alcohol use disorder or substance use disorder. So, and then if you have alcohol use disorder, you're like if you just look at the people who have alcohol use disorder, we're like many times more likely to have ADHD. The Venn diagram is overlapping. The Venn is venning. I don't know how to say. Where's my camera? So ADHD, alcohol, it's like a huge, not completely. And I think that's the reason why AA clicks so deeply for me, because I think a lot of people now, the way that I look at it, and I'm not right, but this is what makes sense to me. So the way that I look at it now is that AA culture was speaking to my ADHD predominantly, but also autism. And so I was identifying with these people who have ADHD, who was talking about us against them, normies, alcoholics, fundamentally different, like didn't have the rule book for life, all these things that were like cliches or said that I related to in AA. I'm like, I think all y'all are like ADHD and some of you are also autistic. And we just thought it was all alcoholism, right? And so for me, having said that, and the reason why I say that is because Alcoholics Anonymous was a self-medication for me. Alcohol was a medication for me. Alcoholics Anonymous was a medication for me. The daily reprieve was a real effect. It wasn't because I needed to maintain my spiritual condition. It wasn't because I have a spiritual malady that needs Bill's steps to God in order to solve, obviously. But I feel like it was medicating my ADHD. Here's what I mean. Every time I go to a meeting, I'm having a biochemical experience. Every time I'm engaging in Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm having a biochemical experience. I'm having a biochemical experience right now with the comments and with Burnie. And so I'm feeling connected by hearing people's shares. I'm feeling the adrenaline rush of me about to speak. And then the fear when I start to speak, and then the relief as I'm speaking, and then the feelings of having spoken, and then people looking at me and nodding, or people saying, I really got a lot out of your share, or me seeing a newcomer, then going and approaching them. So I'm getting oxytocin from the connection, serotonin, dopamine. I'm getting all of the feel-good feels being released throughout my engagement inside Alcoholics Anonymous. And because I'm going every day, and if I'm not going to a meeting every day, which a lot of days I did, I'm actually on the phone with a sponsee, or meeting up with a sponsee, or meeting up with a newcomer. I'm like literally free laboring like crazy for the cult. And so that was giving me this daily reprieve, was giving me dopamine. And what I understand about my brain with ADHD, and also having done like genetic testings and other things, and can see that like there's a huge overlap between what's I've heard called a dopamine deficit in people who are diagnosed ADHD and people who find themselves with alcohol use disorder. And so I feel like AA was medicating my ADHD. And without it, I was like, I had to figure out how to regulate myself. How can I get myself to stay committed, to stay focused, to get the things done, to stay organized, and all of that without my daily reprieve, or getting my daily reprieve on. Not that I was always doing all those things inside AA. But for me, I found the number one solution for me is to do purpose work, because I get dopamine from purpose. I want to get my dopamine, understanding that I likely, because I hold everything loosely about dysfunctions in my brain or me, because I likely have a dopamine deficiency, I need to nourish myself with activities that are going to give me what I need. I need to get my dopamine needs met. And I want to do it in a positive, life affirming way, not in a destructive way that's going to end me up in a rehab or in a cult religion. Right. So I choose purpose as the path for me. And that doesn't have to be dissenting on the internet, which is my current purpose, obviously. It could be gardening. It could be parenting. It could be anything, but it's an activity or something that you do that is going to generate that positive dopamine for you. Obviously, it's not scrolling TikTok. Obviously, it's, so maybe it is. But yeah, so that's kind of what my off the top of my head thoughts about ADHD. Let's see. Is there one that you want me to pull up?
The habit.
Lindsay says, I love the way you're breaking it down, like describing the habit loop. Yeah. So that's why the AA ideology all like made sense to me, because like when people would describe the way their brains work, I'm like, yeah, me too. I'm an alcoholic, because they are. And they said, that's an alcoholic. I'm like, yo, bro, that he's literally neurodivergence. Different brain. Yeah. Different brain, yes, but not because this alcoholism. Like, I was an alcoholic before I even drank. Like, what? What? In what world? Okay, we got anyone that uses the word normie is definitely in a cult. Yeah. ADHD is associated with impulse control, 100%. Yeah. Let's see.
I've met a lot of undiagnosed neurodivergent people in the rooms. Towards the end, I started sharing about it, which obviously rustled some feathers. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, there's definitely, and like, I know for me, I've always said how when I first heard like the doctor's opinion explained and all of that stuff, that's what got me so hooked into the program, because I was like, finally a reason to explain why I'm so wacky, like why I'm such a wackadoodle, why I am so impulsive. Like one day I'm like, yes, reading out of my big book. And then the next day I'm just literally leaving the sober house with like no thought about it and going and getting high. Like, what the hell was that? Oh, that's my disease, right? But so many of the things that, like you were saying, so many of the things that I thought were my disease, like most likely were characteristics of my ADHD, and just I am kind of a little bit of, my personality is just kind of a little bit wacky, and like that's okay. But back then it was like, oh, this is why, because I was so confused on why I couldn't live life like a normal person. And then when I was trying to do the program, even though I felt like I was drowning doing the program, it was like, if I can just get this to work, then everything will be okay. If I can just nail this program, my life will be what it's supposed to be. Like the program gave me so much hope when I felt like just such a mess, like my whole life,
It really seemed to give a lot of answers to lifelong questions.
Yes.
But it was misguidance. And when you do believe that, that's what I felt like. I so locked into the ideology because somebody stood up at 90 days when I was 90 days sober and shared my story, right? He was like nothing like me on the outside, but he talked about his thoughts and his feelings, and he called it all alcoholism. I honestly today think this guy was autistic and ADHD and didn't know it, but he called it all alcoholism. I'm like, well, I literally thought, well, if all of that, I've never heard anybody describe me so well before in my entire life. And if that is what alcoholism is, I am an alcoholic, because I identified with his story. So there's a bunch of people in there who are misguided and misguiding others. And then it's a clusterfuck that you get locked into for the rest of your life.
Also, bipolar have a chance of AUD. I noticed a lot of overlap between bipolar and ADHD. Yeah.
When I first started dissenting in April, a lot of people with bipolar reached out to me and said that either leaving AA or getting proper diagnosis while they were still in AA is what changed everything for them. And that AA was very difficult to take on when they were told it was all alcoholism. And by getting actual proper help, they like really shifted their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I honestly feel like the rooms is like a blocker for you getting to the real help, for you getting to where you need to be. However long you're in the program and however deep you get into it, it becomes like the help that you need to get gets put on hold for however long you're deeply involved in that program, Executive dysfunction in the house.
We have Lavender Foxes saying psychedelics helped my depression more than any pharmaceutical ever did. I believe XA fellowships are very threatened by the rise in therapeutic psychedelics. 100%. So much to the point that they will like act as if they're like they will deny that their trusted leader, Bill Wilson, did psychedelic assisted psychotherapy in the 50s when he was around 20 years sober. He was with Aldous Huxley, of all people, in the LA Veterans Hospital, the VA hospital in LA, doing LSD in a guided experience. And I think that's brilliant. He had a lot of depression, as a lot of us know. And I do think that we should use what science is saying that will get us better. You know what I mean? Why leave Bill depressed? And then why deny it? Why act like psychedelics are a problem when your trusted, like essentially cult leader actually was doing them? And I think that was great I think he was legendary in doing them. I think that was really brave of him to be the leader of this abstinent purity movement, but still be struggling so much in his mental health that he went and tried something that might have been against the cause, but it was actually for his like life. I think that that's great. I think that takes courage, probably. Maybe I'm misunderstanding how it all went down, but
Right.
Again, it's not for everyone. I'm just going to put this one back up. Be careful with it. 100%. To me, it's like, yeah, I would not recommend it to anybody. Okay. Kate says you explained the biochemical experience in meetings perfectly. I thought a lot about all of this. I spent 5 years being silent, being anonymous. feeling that I needed to stay quiet for the newcomers. And I like researched, rabbit holed the fuck out of everything. And I wanted to be like, well, I kind of did get a daily reprieve. So what the fuck was that then? Because obviously it's not true. So what was I experiencing? And I went down the rabbit hole of all the biochemical things and what was happening. And I wrote it all out. And I just got really clear on all it because I really wanted to understand what was happening. So I went into the science and learned about it. Okay.
More people actually stop drinking excessively without treatment, but if you're forced by law or authority, how do you resist indoctrination into helplessness? Yeah, exactly. So many people, like young people, people that are forced by, getting when they get locked up, parents with CPS, like there's so many people who that ends up being how they have to either get their freedom back, their kids back, whatever. And yeah, I feel like you get indoctrinated into this stuff. And once you really believe in that, it takes a while. I think sometimes, if ever, some people never get out of it. Some people think that there's something wrong with us, right? Like some people think that we're the dangerous ones and we're the sick and suffering and we're the ones that have issues. So I'm not saying that everyone in AA has issues, but I'm saying, that program, when you are that invested, when you believe it with your whole soul, I'm sorry, even if it is a positive for you, I mean, my opinion, but it's still a negative, because how is thinking you only have a daily reprieve, and how is thinking that at any point in time, no matter how far away you are from your past, that it could come and get you at any time? How is that a healthy way of living, no matter how happy, joyous, and free you think you are? Like, I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with me, but I don't think that's freedom at all. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's mentally healthy to think that it's always lurking behind you. That's not healthy, dude. No way. Mm-mm.
I think this one's for you too. If it's for me, no.
What makes you say that?
Are you on Suboxone? No, I just smoke my weed, and honestly, I don't smoke weed for my recovery. I really feel like I've recovered, moved on, healed. I smoke weed, yes, medicinally sometimes, but mostly just because I enjoy it and I like smoking it. I saw the sponsor shouting at his sponsees to stop swearing, and he had Tourette's, and it just made the guy worse. Oof. Meetings triggered mania for me. I could definitely see how.
Kings Mason says, Kirsten, I'm so happy that you've taken this on. Let all the dreamers wake the nations. Come on, New Jerusalem. AA is particularly crappy to ASD individuals. Ugh. I like this one hits me so deep. Like, part of the reason why I feel like I have to talk about this is because it runs to the core of me. And that's why I can get very emotional when talking about this stuff, whether like I'm crying or angry or joyful or whatever. I get super emotional around the topics of autism, ADHD, and addiction recovery, or recovering from recovery, right? Because the core of it, like for me, with ASD, I know that I think in girls in general, 1 out of 3 girls are sexually abused by the time they are 18, and 9 out of 10 autistic girls are sexually abused by the time they're 18.
Jeez.
So 3 times more likely if you're an autistic girl. And a lot of autistic girls don't know they're autistic. Their parents don't know they're autistic. Maybe these days it's a little different, especially it's a spectrum. So depending upon where you're at on the spectrum, meaning like how much it's disabling you, I guess, or how many support needs you have. And so not only am I in a group of people that is 9 times more likely to get sexually abused by the time they're 18, which is part of my story, right? part of what happened with me. But we're also 13 times, compared to typical women, autistic women are 13 times more likely to die by unaliving themselves.
Wow.
And so not only are we autistic and don't know it, we might also be ADHD. We're socially different. Our sensory system we're hypersensitive. And so the world can feel like too much. It's not really built for us. So we like alcohol, I'm speaking generally, right? Alcohol can help us like ease social differences, numb out our sensory overwhelm and feel like we fit in or whatever. Of course, it's kind of like a mask. So then we end up getting physically or psychologically or emotionally, whatever, addicted to alcohol. And then we end up in a cult. And so I think about, and then we might not even be aware of all the trauma that we've experienced just even from being divergent. So when it comes to the topic of these neurodivergence, especially for late diagnosed people, a lot of us, I feel like, whether we're autistic and or ADHD or something else in a neurodivergent way, we get trapped in these cult religions, and it kind of feels like home or right because it's the people in there, whether they are bipolar, whether they are ADHD, Tourette's, or whatever their divergence is, right? They are probably talking, a lot of us are talking about our life experience and how we experience the world, and we're calling it all alcoholism. And I just feel like we've been gaslit enough. We've been gaslit by the world. Like I am constantly told my entire life, if you were only a little bit different, this is like the punchline of what people say to me constantly. I got it all like last night a bunch of times. So I'm constantly being told, if you were just a little different, then I'd be okay with you. And I feel like that constant, like the world kind of globally gaslighting us, especially as like autistic individuals, I feel like that's a very common experience. Then we go to AA and this self-gaslighting is like further indoctrinated into us. And then but we're told it's all alcoholism. So we'll never find out that we're just hypersensitive. It's not a character defect. It's a nervous system thing, And so I feel very passionate about sparking conversations about neurodivergence and alcohol addiction or any addiction and recovery and leaving recovery and being clear on how to best support yourself. Because I was like literally like banging my head against a wall in these 12-step meetings, praying away my sponsors, like your sensitivity is a character defect. We didn't call it monotropic thinking because I didn't know that term, but basically my monotropic thinking, AA might call it obsession or hyper focus or whatever they want to call it. But I'm praying when I look back at some of the step work I was doing as an undiagnosed autistic and ADHD individual, it would be as ridiculous as praying away my bones, praying away my blood, praying away like my eye color or something that's pretty stable about me that's not going to go away. And that was a lot of what my character defects were. And people will say, that's not a character defect. A character defect is like fear or dishonesty. I'm like, okay, well, why don't you talk to my sponsor? Because that's not what I was doing. So I really don't like when people take their individual experience of AA and then try to invalidate yours because they didn't experience it. It's like, bro, I don't fucking know you. So it's like this weird gaslighty, like thing where like, if I'm in AA and I didn't experience that, so then you couldn't have experienced that either. And it's like, I don't know, maybe people have different perspectives, experiences, and worldviews, But yeah, so the AA is particularly crappy to ASD individuals, 100%. I want to make a whole playlist on this. I want to talk about all these things. I have so many thoughts here and I've researched the crap out of this. Very passionate about it. I totally agree. And it's really, the last thing I want to say, it's really the unaliving thing that really hits me deep. Being misdiagnosed in Alcoholics Anonymous and knowing that autistic women are 13 times more likely to end it than non-autistic women. And because of part of it, I think, is because of the unaddressed trauma, because of being different and being gaslit by the world, essentially, but also being misdiagnosed, period, and thinking that there's something wrong with you. Being told that there's something wrong with you and you need to be different. Somebody on my Instagram last night was like, I originally followed you because you talked about leaving AA, but I'd like you better, essentially, if you were more positive or if you had a more positive tone. I'm like, bro, this is like deprogramming. This is not toxic positivity. I get what this person was saying, that uplifting content is going to have a different vibe. But right now I'm in my deconstructing 12-step era. And if you don't want to be open to all of what that is, great. But I'm not going to fucking change who I am so that you can feel comfortable. Are you kidding me? I'm not in a cult. I'm not in a, I don't know. Maybe it's like perimenopause. Maybe it's post-cult, like thriving. I don't know what it is, but no, I am not going to change who I am so that people can, I'm not going to conform so that somebody else can feel comfortable. If you don't like me, that's great. It's fine. Turn the channel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think we should have to conform so that other people are more comfortable with us. I think we can be ourselves.
Yeah. I was diagnosed bipolar twice. I'm like 100% sure I was misdiagnosed. I know I have ADHD and I'm pretty suspect of AUDHD, but diagnosis
ADHD, autistic and ADHD. Yeah.
But diagnosis is expensive even with insurance. Yeah. When I was in an emergency psych stay, I was misdiagnosed with like BPD or something. And it's like, how can you, like, think about it. I'm detoxing off of dope. Like, I'm in another state. Everything that I own is out of a duffel bag at that point in my life. Like, it's insane sometimes what, like, they're just ready to, I think sometimes, like, when you're just in these mental institutions, they're just ready to slap a label on you and like move you on to get you to the next part of care, which typically isn't much if you don't have good insurance, you know. I agree, Tara. I didn't get any healing until I left AA for 37 years with the professional non-12-stepper. Yeah, because why are you going to get help if you think that you just need to surrender more, or you just need to do more service work, or you just need to write more step work? That's what you think your issues are, right? It's all about you not doing enough. So you're not going to seek outside help. And depending what type of program that you're in, because we know everybody's experience in the rooms can be different. A lot of times, I know the groups I was in, it was discouraged. It was like, oh, what are you, med seeking? You're trying to get on some pills, trying to go, you know, like, it's like, yep, that's what I'm doing.
Slippery slope.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? Excuse me. This bang's making me a little burpy.
Kate says, I was getting the help I needed for bipolar, but was told I wasn't bipolar and it was all alcoholism. Also told to get off my meds. Totally. It's ridiculous and should be criminal. And then we have bipolar, autism, borderline, et cetera, are all schizoaffective states with elements of disassociation as an onset symptomology. The primary difference is the conditions are more about causation. Let's see. There's so many comments. I don't even know like where to go. Here, let's pull this one up. Tony says, I'm a complex fella. I have autism. I have AUD. I have OCD. It is what it is. And going to AA and defining and labeling myself alcoholic was very damaging and harmful. I'm glad I left for good in June. This
for you.
I wish this was all so common knowledge. I wish this was the mainstream narrative so that we can actually get the support, the help that we need that actually fits us, you know? Thank you, Blue Butterfly. Blue Butterfly says, Kirsten, you are perfect just as you are, in my opinion. And the bottom line is we are how we are, right? And so I could conform. Like someone said the other day, like, I would like your videos more if you didn't swear. I could share them. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that. But I get other people say, I like your videos because you swear. So I can't change who I used to be in the game of I'm going to be who you need me to be so that I can get your love. And I could show you, it's called people pleasing. It's called autistic masking, whatever you want to call it, is conforming inside of an ideology, right? Being a group thinker. But I'm just not interested anymore. And although I love feedbacks and suggestions, when it gets really personal and it's about how I express myself naturally, in some senses, and I bet maybe the autistics out there and maybe ADHDs or others are going to hear me on this one or agree with me. I don't know. But like part of it is like, I don't know, like, what's the word? Ableist. Part of it's ableism. You don't like the way that my tone, you don't like my energy, you don't like my hand expressions, you don't like my emotions or whatever. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of ableism, isn't it? Like I'm wired a little bit differently. I present a little differently, and I don't have a problem with that. And if you do, again, just change the channel. You know what I mean? I don't understand trolls, because if I don't, maybe this is the autism in me. If I don't like somebody's channel, I don't like someone's perspective, and I get triggered or something, I don't go and harass them. I just like move on. You know what I mean? I might think in my head what I want to say or comment, but I just literally move on. I don't understand the people who have to like try to tell you to be different so that they could like you more. I'm like, if you don't like who I am, I don't want you here. Like, no, I should change so that you're okay. Well, who the fuck are you? Literally stranger on the internet. It's so bananas. But I think that we all deal with this. And I think that this also speaks to like the self-abandonment that's drilled into us as part of the AA indoctrination.
I would spend days journaling on what were my bipolar symptoms and what was alcoholism. It makes me cry just thinking about it. I know, so many spinning of the wheels that like didn't need to be spun, you know, just trying to like make this shit work. People do not have alcoholism. The idea of alcoholism has people. It sure does. Had me. Those rooms are reminiscent of my past narcissistic relationship. Yeah, I can see why.
Jim says that knitting cult lady is brilliant, especially knitting so fast and breaking down cults. Refreshing to watch her. Yeah, she really helped me understand that AA is a cult for sure. Knitting cult lady has on knitting cult lady. If you go to knitting cult lady YouTube, she has a playlist that's called something like AA is a cult.
She has it on TikTok too.
Okay. You're fine. Don't worry about them. They just used to usual crap they see on YouTube. Yeah, totally. Monica, yes, good for you for saying that. No, we get criticized. No, we get to criticize AA for as long as we need and want. Yes, 100%. I don't owe my anonymity, my silence, my story, my truth to cult religion or a high control system that I used to be in that actually harmed me through their ideology. And no, it wasn't a bad experience. I loved AA when I was in it, which I know I'm a bit of an outlier here on that, but I also love that about my story is that I genuinely loved it. And it worked for me, meaning I haven't had a drink since I went to AA. Not that that fucking matters, but like nobody can throw a stone at me and saying, you're mad because it didn't work for you or you had a bad experience. I'm like, not really. Not at all. No, I just realized that it's harmful. And the moment that I saw that it was harmful, just like Santa, we all know my story, right? But like the moment that I saw that it wasn't true, I realized I could never, ever go back in a room of Alcoholics Anonymous and say a word. Because if I went back into AA and I talked about the ideology at all, I would know that I was harming people, that I was consciously harming people. So immediately I knew that if I ever went to a meeting again, I could not talk about the ideology at all because I'd be indoctrinating people. I'd be brainwashing them into a harmful like thought reform, and I could never do it.
At King Mason, that's very well put. The idea has definitely possessed people. I even catch myself saying addict still, and I have to correct myself. Yeah, me too. The changing of language is a difficult one. It's a process for sure. I do a lot better with it now, but still sometimes like if I'm just speaking and not thinking, it just rolls right off my tongue.
Yeah. Katie and Alex plus dogs watching from New Zealand. What's up? It was fun to comment with you yesterday, or was it this morning, or both? We have Chris, almost 5 years recovering from recovery. Yeah.
Yay. Hey, Chris. Only persons have agency, and alcoholic is an adjective, not a noun. I like that.
And then we have, I also like your videos because you swear. Fucking shit, motherfucker. Lol, you definitely don't overdo it. You only do it for emphasis. It would be one thing if you swore every other word. Like it's such a small thing. Who cares? Totally. And you know what? I grew up in a household where there was a lot of swearing. It literally is just, I could probably change that pattern, right? Like I'm actively trying to change the pattern of prayer and other AA ideology. If I wanted to rewire my brain so that I don't swear, I know that I could do that, but that's not my desire. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of part of how I express myself. There is a part of me that's edgy and different and like, and sometimes it is the appropriate word, especially if there's like a passion or an emotion behind it. It's also funny, especially like when if it was you, let me know. Long lost commenter, I don't remember who it was. I wish I could credit the source, but somebody left a comment on my YouTube months ago that said Bill shit instead of bull shit. And I just died. And now one of my favorite words is bullshittery. And like, it's so funny, but it's also true. And it's a way to kind of make light of that we were essentially conned from Bill's ideas, those of us who believe them as true, and then therefore it disabled our thinking in our lives or whatever. And so I just feel like bringing some humor in and bringing, I don't know, just letting it rip. Whoever we are is fine. Like, and just being ourselves, and we're not for everybody, and that's fine.
I'm from Massachusetts. Like, there's no way. Like, you just swear when you're a fucking masshole. It's just part of your words.
I heard you guys in traffic are called the massholes.
Yeah.
Jim says, to be honest, he's talking about me. I think you're totally nuts, but in a healthy way, especially when you get passionate and emotional and swearing is in the context. Yeah. I'm specifically talking about things that I'm very passionate about. So my emotions are going to be very close to the surface in some of the ways. And I think it's appropriate in light of what we're talking about. We're literally talking about cult recovery. But for some reason, people don't understand like the actual harms caused to a lot of us and I would imagine that some of those people who, jails, institutions, death, some of the people who are no longer alive while like through leaving AA, it was very brutal for me. Some of the thoughts were very hard to hold in my head. It got very dark in my head when I left AA, being shunned, being isolated, having the identity crisis. I know it's not the same for everybody, but I wonder how many people leave AA and aren't able to make it through the brutality that it can be for a lot of us. And so yeah, I do feel very passionate about it. I do. I think it's a very serious topic at times, and for sure. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep coming back. Thanks.
And enough people don't take it serious because of the, AA saved millions, AA, all the positive shit that goes with it. So people don't, for most people, they think, well, just don't go if you don't like it. And it's like, there's so much more there, pal.
Last comment read by Kirsten really touched me. Hey, Rick, what's up? AA taught me to carry all my baggage, real or not. This point, emotional. Yes. It's interesting. Rick, you said something. I remember your story. You commented yesterday on Facebook about 37 years in AA and you had migraines like 3 a week or something like that until you left, and then you don't have them anymore. They literally and I don't know if it was really the cognitive dissonance, but having like physiological suffering as a result of the exact time that you were in there. It's like, that's intense. And I'm really glad that you feel better, and team freedom. And then Katie and Alex plus dogs. Love the plus dogs, by the way. What kind of dogs? Day 1 of leaving AA. Oh, congrats on your escape. All the feels. Yeah. It can be a lot. So I'm glad that you found us, because for me, being like really alone in it made it even harder. And to be validated and supported, I feel like would be really helpful through that transition of realizing that no, you're not going to die, and that it's okay to trust yourself. And looking at outside literature is actually very healthy and very eye-opening. And there's just a lot, let's see, there's more. Okay. I've only just started sharing some of my brainwashing examples with the normies. Cringe. In my inner circle, they are horrified. I bet. Yeah. And the dogs are Labrador and Golden Retriever, Ludo and Macy. Cute.
How do we start a class action lawsuit for pain and suffering? Laughing my ass off. I know. For real, though. Like, my whole 20s went to that fucking program. Like, all of my 20s went to that shit.
Yeah, here we have, I think I may have PTSD from my time in AA. Yes, that's this thinking about trauma. Like, for me to really understand what happened in AA as I was like climbing out of it, and I'm still not done deprogramming. It's an ongoing journey, right? I'm clear that it's that it's all baloney though. Like, I'm not confused.
Right.
But yeah, I can see that there were a lot of like PTSDs. I mean, I didn't have like nightmares, flashbacks. Some of the PTSD symptoms I didn't have, but I would for sure, I really identified with exit trauma, I've heard it called. I had a lot of the exit trauma symptoms, the identity crisis, the emotional roller coaster, the even just the even just losing all your friends. My God, it's in our DNA to not get kicked out of the tribe. Like, that's for our survival. We need to be a part of the tribe. So there's so many aspects of it that are so difficult that we all have to handle at once if we're gonna like walk out and leave. I mean, people leave gradually. It can be all different ways, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
We got amen. Let's do it.
I know that I'm allowed to have friendships where I don't agree with people, but I don't really want to be friends with my friends who are still in it. I think it becomes hard too. Like, especially if they, depending how they are, if they're like, saving you a seat, so to speak, and, acting like there's something wrong with you. I'm like, it can be obnoxious. Like, get it.
I heard somebody said like yesterday in the comments to me, I'm saving you a seat. See you in a couple years. And then I was just thinking, like, literally, that sounds as appealing to me as if I climbed through the jungles at Jonestown, survived the cult, and then a member says to me, I saved you a cup of Kool-Aid. It's like, not today. Like, what do you mean? I'm good. I am no longer going to drink the poison of Alcoholics Anonymous, period. No thanks.
You could keep your seat. My old friend who's still in AA, she has severe mental health problems. Her first sponsor told her to get off her meds. She wasn't sober and hadn't even accepted she was alcoholic. We no longer talk. She's still in AA. It's so fucking dangerous when these sponsors play doctor. It's just like, it's insane.
It should be illegal. Yeah.
AA makes us depend on them for everything, and everyone outside is the enemy. Cult mentality once again, for sure.
Yeah. Like, your friends outside of the program can, bring you down or be, a threat to your sobriety. And it's like, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here.
Katie and Alex plus dog says, we are literally told we will die if we don't stay in the middle of the herd. Yes. And this is what is so weird to me. It's like the people who are doing the recruiting and the indoctrinating don't, not only, and I'm speaking in general, nothing is really in general, right? There's individuals, but the comments that I get are people who are not only unaware that recruiting even happens or that indoctrinating even happens, they also are not seeing clearly what the indoctrination is as they're like trolling at me. So, and I'm not a victim in that. I'm putting myself out there, so I expect it, right? I'm inviting it in a way, right? If you speak about a cult, you're going to get culted. That's just, It is what it is. But this, like a lot of people have been saying recently to me, AA never says you'll die if you leave. And I'm like, Bueller? Motherfucking her. Like, what do you mean? I was told that all the time.
All
And
the
they'll be like, well, what city were you in? What country you were in? I'm like, bitch, I was global. Like, this is everywhere. Like, what do you mean? They always try to call it out. Like, and like my story is so like in a way where I'm like, but that's not even true for my own story. Most of my AA life wasn't even in America, even though I'm American. It was overseas. I was like in different places. Like, so you can't say it was my city or my country or
Right.
my town. I'm like, bro, I was like pulling geographics in AA. No, not really. I was traveling. But yeah, they pretty much everywhere I went, I heard that I heard essentially said in different ways, but if you don't do AA, you're going to drink. And if you drink, you are going to end up in a jail or an institution or dead. So what it essentially, the root of that, the boiled down bottom line was, you're dead without AA. If you leave AA, you're dead. And you might even be dead in AA unless you can be rigorously honest, right? You might be incapable of being honest with yourself. You know, all that. I don't even like saying that.
I mean, one of the slogans is like work the steps or die. So, I mean, it's pretty out there.
Yeah, community is important. Lavender Foxes says the loneliness when leaving is confirmation to me that it was all phony baloney, so much baloney. It is like a baloney central. Phony baloney, shallow support. Once the group couldn't squeeze me for my resources, I was left alone. I have real connections now. Really glad to hear you have real connections now. And this is a real experience for a lot of us.
When I shared with my sponsor earlier this week that I feared this was a cult, I was told that I may have psychosis, paranoid. You're brave for sharing that to your sponsor. But yeah, I mean, of course they're gonna say that. They can't, I mean, they fully believe in it. They fully believe in it. So anything that anyone says outside of it is, you know, not legitimate. And especially if they're on a pedestal, if they think, you know, if you're a sponsee relationship, well, you know, they already have this sort of, whether they, in most cases, they kind of like not look down on you, but have kind of, you know, like, oh, I know better than you. So you poor child, like, you're paranoid. This is not a cult. This is saving your life, sweetheart type of vibe. I can like hear it.
Yeah. And I also want to say it is disgusting to essentially call somebody insane. That's like what the dogma is, right? If you leave AA thinking or AA system, leave the group, you are going to you're going to go to jails, institutions, or death. So one of them is you're going to go insane, right? And it's a cult tactic. A lot of cults say that you will go insane if you leave the cult, or you will die if you leave the cult. This is very, very common in cults. So that's why I also think that whether people get triggered on the cult word or not, and whatever you think about is AA a cult or not, really looking at the cult models for me has been so liberating to know that, oh, cults in general use this threat of you are insane if you go against the group. So here it is in action. We have a person who is, in my opinion, being disgusting, telling you that you might have psychosis, paranoid. She's calling you mentally disturbed because you're realizing that you're in a cult. If that's not giving cult, I don't know what is. I really feel upset about this. Katie and Alex plus dogs, congrats on your first day of escaping. And I don't know what you should do. I'm glad you're here, but I know for me, although I didn't have like people on the internet like doing lives or whatever about this, so you're in good space. I think, I hope that's my intention. But I also did really well with getting a non-12-step therapist who could help me work through a lot of my fears, because I was petrified that I was going to die. And it took me months to remove that fear with my therapist, who knew nothing about AA other than, yeah, it's not true. I'm so glad you realize it's not true. It's not true. And so she helped me remove the phobia and indoctrination of I would die if I left. I didn't think I was going to go insane if I left, like your sponsor seems to be thinking, but I believed I was going to die if I left. And that belief, it took a while to like dig up that belief and rewire my brain. But anything that can be installed in our brain can be uninstalled. Maybe that's not totally true, but that's the way that I think about it. If we can learn it, we can unlearn it. I try to go by that principle, whether that's 100% accurate or not. So if I can learn that to leave AA is to die, which is totally giving cult, then I can unlearn that to leave AA is to die, or psychosis, paranoid, or whatever. if she is actually hitting on something that's true and this is actually your mental state because I don't know you and this might be accurate for you, only you would know, then yeah, maybe getting professional help would be a good call. I want to put that in there too. But I think this is just more of a cult thing.
My friends who are in it are lovely people, but I just don't feel like I can go with them with my issues. They are still steeped in the ideologies. Yeah, it's hard when people's answers to most things are pray about it or get outside of yourself and do some service work. It does make it really hard to go to them for anything, right? Because I mean, everything's going to be you looking for your part in it, and and there's nothing wrong with taking accountability, of course, but I mean, you know how it is when you have any sort of anything that's not grateful and gratitude and just happiness, well then you need to start looking within yourself, and it's not a healthy way of thinking, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, good. So Katie and Alex plus dogs. I have clean mental health except for neurodiversity, which just is what it is. Totally. That's part of where, like, that's a huge part of where my passion comes from. It's being neurodivergent and feeling like when I look back on life that my biggest trauma isn't any of the things that happened to me from other people, like physically or sexually, whatever. It's really about having the world reflect to me constantly that I'm wrong and I can't trust myself, that if I was just a little different, I'd be okay. And me taking that to be that something's wrong with me, and then AA validating that and locking it in further, and then having the audacity and the courage to question it and to leave a system that tells me I'm going to die, go crazy, or get locked up, go to jail if I leave. To me, it was so liberating. So even though I was terrified, I knew I was being courageous. My mantra is always, when I'm trusting myself and doing the hard thing, my mantra is always, this is courage. It is such a reframe for my brain, for me, when I'm doing what feels like the right action for me, trusting my wisdom inside, trusting myself, to be like, this is courage, this is courage, this is courage. Because yes, although I feel terrified and scared and it's new or whatever, it's also when you look back, when you take that scary action forward and trust yourselves, you look back and it's obvious that that was courage. So I try to get in the moment of like acknowledging that for myself. And I will literally chant for myself in my brain as a mantra, because we can program ourselves, right? Might as well do it in a positive way. This is courage. This is courage. This is courage. And it's not BS when we do that, because it is courage when we're trusting ourselves and doing a scary thing. So yeah. Let's see.
Deprogramming was an essential part of leaving for me. Step one, we admitted that we were not going to die and our lives were being managed by a cult. That's actually a good step one. I remember one of my first meetings in the back of the room of a church, guys sharing. I'm thinking, surely this can't be it. I know. I know. It's like, you go through all this trouble, or like, I remember like going through all this trouble. I'm like, I just want to stop using. I just want to stop using. I just want to stop using. And then you get there and then you're like, oh shit, like this is what my life has to be, is like this. Herd mentality. Yep. I realized I was in a cult and was recruiting when I studied the traditions. It's lonely. Glad you guys are here doing the deconstruction journey online. It's helpful.
Glad to hear it. I mean, it helps me too.
Yeah.
I've grown so much since I've been dissenting and looking into everything, talking to everybody. One of my favorite things is reading all the comments, and then also reading the DMs and stuff that I get, and just learning from everybody and relating and waking up to more pockets of freedom together, for sure. Lavender Foxes says, it's also incredibly creepy that those in the program see people who leave as toxic. It's like they take satisfaction in seeing ex-members fail at recovery. I was disgusted by this so much. Totally. Yeah. it's amazing the names that I get called to by people who are inside the AA ideology. They're like, you hate AA, you're toxic, you're a cult leader, you're this, you're that. I'm like, or they're like, you're angry. Yeah, you hate AA, you're resentful, you're angry. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the resent one.
Okay.
Oh, look at the resentment. Oh, you look so resentful. Oh.
Like, by the way, we're allowed to have all of our feelings
Yeah.
out here. Like, even if I was, which I'm not generally, even, by the way, some of the stuff, anger is the appropriate emotion.
I'm saying.
100%. In general, I'm not angry, but there are times looking at it, part of it, it's horrific. And if you aren't having a feeling, I'm kind of like, maybe the spiritual bypassing isn't I don't know. Maybe more will be revealed.
Like, yeah, I am fucking angry that this program is like the main default pathway and is like ruining so many lives, and so many people are just like, AA saved millions.
It's less, for me, it's less about being angry, although I do get angry at mental health professionals or addiction experts saying AA is the way. I feel like that's so irresponsible. And that to me is like some crazy 1984 backwards baloney that just like, you're literally setting people up for like, what? Why don't you tell them 20 of the paths, not the only one that's harmful or the one that's the most harmful, in my opinion. So yeah, but in general, I actually am in a vibe of wanting to support people feeling validated, because that's the hardest part for me, was not being validated and having to validate myself, which was a great liberating thing to do. But I think I could have found a lot of freedom and ease and a lot sooner had I been validated, had I not had to go through on my own. And I just wonder how many of us don't make it through that dark night of the soul, because it was really dark for me, at least. We have, I went to my home group to visit, and one of the members started a full unprovoked lecture for me. I didn't ask for his input. Makes me want to lie sometimes. Yeah, totally.
AA is like McDonald's. It's the same everywhere. Well, there are different, like someone who just goes to like a speaker meeting isn't going to have the same effect as someone who goes to like a big book study meeting, right? Because there are some people who don't even know what the steps are. So it can be a little different. Most people in cults don't see it as a cult, so of course they're going to bug, right?
She also said, even if it is a cult, sign me up. I literally left the conversation feeling that perhaps being in a cult was better than being dead. Yeah, I think that this is the line that I'm always like, okay, a lot of people position it just like this. It's either being in a cult or being dead. Like I've heard this, like being in an AA cult is better than being like dead as an alcoholic, or alcoholic death or something like that. And although I agree with that on the surface, it's not binary. AA is not the only, it's not 1934, Bill Wilson getting sober days. Although he didn't get sober on AA, did he? He actually did psychedelics in the town's hospital. He did the belladonna treatment, which was a hallucinogen. He hallucinated that he was feeling the breeze of God on the mountaintop. And after his white light religious experience, while the Oxford group was coming in terms, Ebby and friends from the Oxford group Cult Religion were coming in and indoctrinating him while he was hallucinating about God, the message of God. Then all of a sudden, Bill got God, and then he went around preaching about it. And Bill spent the first 2.5 years of his sobriety staying sober by being a member of the Oxford group Cult Religion. AA did not start in 1935 when Bill met Bob. In fact, Bob was in the Oxford group for the first 4 years of his sobriety. Bill was 2.5 years before Bill branched off part of the Oxford group into Alcoholics Anonymous. So Bill didn't even get sober through the 12 steps. So we can also just look at reality, like obviously, because they didn't exist. So no, being in a cult is better than being dead. Sure. Maybe. But there's other ways. There's it's not two doors. We're not looking at two doors. This isn't flipping a coin and it's
Right,
heads or
like, why
tails.
is that the only
There's
other option?
literally so many different ways. So it's like all these things, it's like thought stopping cliches. You're like, yeah, I get that. Being alive is better than being dead, but that's not that's not the options. I really vibe with this one. Kate says they need to stop diagnosing or undiagnosing people. Yes. Jim says that's totally awful. Who would say that to another human being to see they cherry pick? Oh, God loves you. And Lavender Foxes says fear, obligation, guilt, fog. Sorry, mistyped fog. Maybe I missed that one. So glad I found this space. Thank you. You are very welcome. Team Freedom up in here. Let's keep getting free. We're allowed to tell the truth. That's how that's kind of what was like, I got to a point in my deprogramming journey where I was like, I can tell the truth. I don't have to stay silent for a group that like harmed me for years, that I did free labor for, that I was exploited in, that like brain control, like mind controlled me, thought reformed me. I don't have to stay obedient to them. I'm allowed to share my story. And there's times where I've been through a certain amount of harm where I feel like I want to talk about that so that I can help other people through that same harm. And that I wish that people before me were doing that, so it would have been easier for me. Like, to me, that's kind of along AA's vibes anyways, And I wish that the way it worked was that like we knew informed consent. We knew that AA was harmful just as like a mainstream society, right? And we're like, well, look, you've tried SMART, you've tried this, you've tried that, you've tried Sinclair. These things didn't work. Why don't you try the one that has some complications to it? Like, same way if you're going to get a surgery or if you're going to do like radiation, some of the treatments have some harm with them. And then you know what it is. But that there's going to be a phase 2 of recovery. So once you get stabilized off of the booze or whatever through the recovery treatment that's harmful, then we're going to have to detox you from the harmful thing, right? Yeah. So like when I got to rehab for alcohol, I was also on benzos. I was taking Klonopin morning and night per my psychiatrist. And so when I was in rehab, everyone talked about how they were detoxed when they first got to rehab. They went through like detox week was like the first week. And then I was like, why didn't you guys put me through detox week? They didn't do it to me. I was like, everyone was like in the bed detoxing, whatever. And I said to them, well, why am I not detoxing? And they're like, well, you came in on the detox meds. So we're keeping you on the benzos for the first week that you were already on, because those are the detox meds for alcohol. And then now we're going to detox you from the detox meds. So I feel like similar principles here with AA. We're going to give you the benzos essentially to get off of alcohol, which is Alcoholics Anonymous. But then we need to detox you from the detox treatment. Alcoholics Anonymous might be a detox treatment, but we need to detox you from that. We need to take the brainwashing that might have helped you, if that was the route that you wanted to go, or that was the next one you wanted to try. But now we need to take the brainwashing out. And so there's a phase 2 of recovery, which is deprogramming from AA. It shouldn't be controversial. It should be expected. It should be consent. It shouldn't be trolled. It should be known. It should be held up. It should be like, yeah, you can do AA, but we're going to program you, and that's going to have some benefits, but then we're going to deprogram you to help you. Why is that controversial? Oh wait, there's so many more here. Yikes. I'll just pull one up. I'll randomly select.
Oh, the resentments, laughing my ass off. Everything a resentment. Having critical thinking is a resentment. Having feelings is a resentment. Can't be a victim, it's a resentment. Totally absurd. Yeah, you can't have like any feeling but being grateful for Alcoholics Anonymous. That's like the only feeling you're allowed to have. Exactly. You come in broken and super vulnerable. No decent health professional would. There's something in my way. Something therapeutic interventions. Perfect time for AA. Save you and keep you. Yeah, it's fucking awful. There is nothing wrong with being resentful of having been conned into a cult. I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to have all of the feelings. Like, to have to pretend that we're not human, like that's something we can deconstruct from. We're allowed to be resentful. We're allowed, like, we can reclaim gratitude, by the way. We can reclaim anger, resentment. I have no problem. I think it's so bananas when these people in AA will comment to me and say, you sound angry, you sound resentful. And I'm like, first of all, that's not an insult to me. Like,
Right.
I'm not living with a number one offender that I'm not allowed to feel, that I need to inventory, and I need to look at my side of the street, and I need to pray for you. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing, if I'm angry, that's great. That's great. If I'm resentful, that's great. If I'm joyful, that's great. If I'm anything, it doesn't matter. That's what being a human is. Like, am I going to really like be like resist the rain, resist the wind? It's like the weather is a part of life. The emotions are a part of life. I'm allowed to have all the feelings, and it's not bad or wrong if I do. I only like numbing my not being able to be with my emotional world is a huge part of what alcohol gave me in the beginning. It made me feel regulated and comfortable in my skin. I was so emotionally dysregulated. I was having PTSD, CPTSD when I first started drinking, and it calmed and numbed everything down. So a huge benefit of alcohol was numbing my feelings. A huge benefit of Alcoholics Anonymous was also, in a way, numbing my feelings. And like, I did a podcast with somebody yesterday, and she was saying that like you see everybody like their eyes change like a couple months into AA, like a lot of them, it's common. And to me, that's like the religious conversion experience when all of a sudden you're like, bing, I found God. I'm going to be just grateful all the time, and that's it. And I'm not allowed to feel anything else. And like if I do, I have to write all about it and confess. I have to confess. I have to look at my part, make amends. And sorry, getting a little animated.
I'd rather be resentful and rational than on a pseudo spiritual high. I agree. Not living with the number one offender. It's so true though. Like they literally comment it like they just gave you the worst insult ever. Like, ooh, you're so resentful. And like, even if I am, like you said, like they think it's the worst, like it's the worst thing to say to somebody. But when you live in a world where it's the number one offender, that is insulting. When you say that someone's resentful, like I remember when I was in the program and someone would say like, "Oh, you're sounding a little resentful," but no, I'm not. You know, like it's crazy when you think about it. Like that's an insult. It's wild.
Yeah. Anger is a signpost pointing me away from what misaligns with my values. It's a useful tool, and it is so helpful. Like the way that I know what my boundaries are some of the time is because they've been crossed, because I feel anger or frustrated or something. So it helps me understand where my boundaries are. Honestly, I think we should use all the feels. I don't think we have to numb anything out.
I literally just deleted and blocked my sponsors. Step 1. Nice. Oh, man.
Kate has a case of the luxury of dubious men. Kate, luxurious, dubious men. Pink clouds and unicorns. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that comment, Lavender Fox, is about lots of money to be made.
Oh, let me click on it.
Lots of money to be made in the recovery industry, probably why there's not a focus on recovery from recovery. Healed people won't keep their rehabs operating or halfway houses funded by insurances. And that's exactly when people say comment to me, they'll be like, AA's used in like all the rehabs and all stuff. And it's like, yeah, exactly. Because it keeps people coming back. They're going to use something that doesn't work for most people because it keeps the doors open, right? Like use your head. They're not using it because it fucking works.
Yeah. And when they say AA is free, I'm like, free labor. It's free labor. It's called labor exploitation, because I was told that if I don't do all the steps, I'm going to die essentially. So I need to do all the steps, including step 12. I need to be carrying this message. I need to be approaching newcomers after meetings. I need to be sponsoring people. I need to be going into hospitals and institutions and jails and all that. I need to be, and now I realize that that's recruitment and that's part of the indoctrination process. So I need to forever recruit for AA for the rest of my life. Otherwise, I'm going to die. That is a death threat, and that is called phobia. That's part of the phobia indoctrination. That if I don't exploit myself through free labor, whether it's sweeping up the meeting, making the coffee, secretarying the meeting or whatever, and whether or not I enjoyed it is second to the fact that it was exploitation. I wasn't doing it by choice. I was doing it because I was coerced that I would die if I didn't do it. Right. So I have no problem with being of service, with volunteering, with making coffee, with putting the chairs away, or any of the things, or sponsoring people, whatever. But and I've even said this before multiple times, like I'm on team billionaire. Let Bill be a billionaire. I wouldn't care if he profited like tremendously from AA. I wouldn't care. Team billionaire, I'm on it. My problem with Bill is not any money or whatever. It's the dishonesty, the deception. If you were told that you can choose to do this stuff if you wanted, and there would be a benefit, a biochemical benefit of being of service and helping people, and it would make you feel better, likely you can try it and see if it helps. That's one thing, but it's exploitation because I was told you're going to die if you don't do these things. So it's not even subtle. It's like, it's coercion. I have a problem with the deception and the coercion. That's what's the giving cult part of it to me, is that you don't have agency, you don't have choice. Now, not everybody did all those things. Not everybody believed the responsibility prayer when the hand of AA, when somebody reaches out, the hand of AA is there. But I really did believe that I always had to have 3 sponsees at all times, and that if one of them was going to bail in some way, that I needed to get a third one. And I had a quota that I needed to keep up, which required between 7 and I don't know, even up to like 20 hours a week spending on AA as a full-time, part-time job, or a full-on part-time job.
Yeah.
And now when I look back on that, even though I enjoyed some of it and I really loved a lot of the women that I sponsored and had genuine connections, and the women that I've sponsored who have also left AA, we are still very much in each other's lives. But I was doing it all because I was coerced. I wasn't choosing. And so that is manipulation. That's not cool. To the loaded gun that's at our head in AA that makes us stay is not a physical metal thing. It's the thought reform. It's the ideology telling us if we don't do these things, we're going to die. Now, I know not everybody did all the things, but it wasn't choice.
Right.
Let's see. Jim says, free labor, it's called you're the most important person in the room, but you're making teas and coffees. Yeah. We are getting close to time here, guys, just to say that. We got a few more comments to put up. Saying no was seen as a character defect. Hogwash. Yeah, that's the hogwashery. I was told I always have to say yes to AA. I think that's common. I can't hear you right now. And then Jim says the suffragettes, but best resentment. I slaughtered that word. Best resentment you can get from woman fought for the vote. Yeah. Are you on mute?
Yeah, I was muting because my dog was having someone walked by, so he has to.
Oh, I got all confused.
Walked in the hallway.
Well, friends, this has been fun. We've been vibing for almost 2 hours here. And so it's time to wrap things up, I think. It's been a vibe. If you are watching the replay, definitely join the conversation in the comments. It's always a vibe to hear what everybody thinks, what comes up, and to connect with each other and see everybody's thoughts. And I really feel like I grow and evolve so much every time we come together and I see what everybody is thinking. Y'all spark a lot of ideas in me and wake me up to new pockets of freedom. So I'm really grateful for that. I hope it's been valuable for you as well.
Yes. Going to meetings and getting attacked by the real alcoholic was fun. Just for sharing my story.
It's so funny when you understand that, like, It's literally playbook cult, real alcoholic. Like I was watching a documentary the other night that was about like going into World War II, and in Germany they were calling them like real Germans. I was like, this is used everywhere, where like if you want to be a real alcoholic, it like, I don't know, it's just so it's so textbook. Like when you look at like the AA playbook and like playbooks of other high control groups or cults or like, yeah, it's also textbook.
Yeah, it's wild.
I'm grateful I got to be here. Yes, Lindsay, thank you so much for vibing. Right, lassies, cheers from Scotland. All right, Jim, thanks for joining in. And Daryl, Rebecca Franzway published a book called Horror Stories, about 12-step horror stories. Oh, cool. Has anybody read this book?
I think I have it.
I think I saw,
Yeah.
oh, you have it? 12-step horror
Yeah.
stories? Maybe we can come on in the evening and read you guys a bedtime horror story. Just kidding. It'll be, that show will be called Trigger Warning. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We're doing this every week. It's going to be the same time. So that was 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon Eastern. So it's going to be a regular thing. If there's ever a change to that schedule, actually, then we'll let you know. I think there's 1 week where, yeah, we'll figure it out. But we want it to be consistent. We want to have an ongoing place to have this community connection and conversation and bring everybody together, and just vibe and like get everybody's ideas in one place so we can grow together.
Oh, it's cool. It's online too. All right, guys. Well, I hope you have a good week.
Oh, let me put this one on. I gotta caught my headphones. Lavender Foxes says, love from Philly as always. Thanks again for doing this. Have a great week, everybody. Yeah, have a great rest of the day. Take care. And we will see you next Sunday for Bestie and Burnie and Bestie Live. Don't burn yourself out, Kirsten. We need you. Thank you. I appreciate that. The only thing that really burns me out in any of this, I think, is reading comments on TikTok. Honestly, it kind of like makes my head like after a while, I'm like, oh, is this like, what is this feeling in my head? This doesn't feel right. Yeah. So I don't know. My habit's been like doing TikTok for 3 days, then like leaving it for 3 months, and then doing it for 3 days and leaving it for 3 months. So the only thing that burns me out, most of it is just, I don't know. I feel like when I'm passionate about something, I'm just energized and I'm excited about it. So I don't, if I needed to pull back from anything, it would definitely be the TikTok, which I've only been on for like 4 days now this time.
Yeah, it's exhausting, trust me.
It's just, it's so much culty comments. It's like, and they're relentless and like ruthless. And I don't know why they keep coming back like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, what is this phenomenon? It's bizarre. Good luck to everybody out there with that. Yeah. My son used the term selfish altruism. His mindset is that if it gives good results and does good things, that there's nothing wrong with self-seeking that way. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. We definitely benefit from helping people for sure. As long as everything's coming from choice, like I'm all aligned with that. Team freedom is about choice, or just how I look at things. Like I feel like conscious, deliberate choice is where I want to be. And that's part of why I knew that AA wasn't forever, because it was based in fear and shame. And so I always felt like, well, I have to be in AA forever, but there was a cognitive dissonance because I'm like, but it's also rooted in fear, and anything rooted in fear is at best a stepping stone, but not a final destination. That was just kind of like what made sense to me. So yeah, I like this selfish altruism. Anything from choice is a vibe. Altruism from choice is a vibe, because you know it does good things for both of you. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. All right, that is enough out of me. All right, burn the stigma. It's been so nice bestieing and burning with you. Yeah. See everybody next week, or we'll see you later on the channels. I'll be posting before we come back together next week. So take care. Replayers, can't wait to see you in the comments. Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.